gentlemen, boys, girls, welcome to the SimSock Super Series 6000, coming to you live, apparently from a Barca Lounger. I am very attractive, and with me, as always, is noted hip-hop impresario, Mike Magas.
What is an impresario? I actually don't even know.
It's like an entrepreneur, but totally different.
Okay. I'm down with that. I'm good with that. We are here at Barcelona for the final of the ESR RWB Super Series. This is the last round of the Tier 3 Championship. I think the title is largely in the hands of Mr. Voodoo Child, and there's not really much riding on that. But, you know, there's a race win up for grabs here. There's bragging rights. There's all kinds of stuff. And right now we got Voodoo Child at the top of the pile, along with Morpheus 1975, Max Simmons, Kim Johansson, and Kate Warburton. By the way, Simmons just took third as I was running down the top five. How convenient of him.
I find it very convenient.
In his very green jumpsuit suit there in his Ferrari. There is the Voodoo Child in his Bentley leading the way. Looking for any new faces today? Doesn't look like there's any. These are the regular combatants in the Tier 3 Championship. The only real change of note is that Simsock Beal is no more. He has legally changed his name to Batmobile.
Tremendous.
So
I enjoy it tremendously.
Clearly, he's been watching our commentary where we've demanded, we've peer pressured him into changing to Batmobile. So we got, let's see here, car breakdown: 1 Bentley, 2 McLarens, 3 Porsches, 3 Ferraris, 1 Aston Martin, 3 Lexi is your field. So the Lexus, the Porsche, and the Ferrari are the most popular cars, which is weird because, of course, that's a front-engine car, a mid-engine car, and a rear-engine car. So we're all over the map in terms of, like, you know, preferences here.
I demand there to be a side-engine car.
I will say that the Lexus and the Ferrari are amongst the easier to drive of their respective classes, so those do make sense. I don't think the Porsche does, but the Porsche has this mystique that no matter how many times I point out the problems with the Porsche, it just won't die. It just won't go away.
Excellent. It's like a zombie.
As Max Simmons comes across the line to steal pole position right at the end. The car guy racing Ferrari will start at the front of the pack ahead of Voodoo Child. We're also awaiting the final lap of RWB Robert, so I guess technically he could steal pole still. But that has not been RWB Robert's providence previously. That is him you can hear zipping around there, as he is the last man. He was the last man who will get a qualifying lap in. Not sure why the camera hasn't moved over there. No offense. I like the livery, Max. It's actually one of my favorite Ferrari liveries. Not my favorite, but one of them. And it does look very dirty. He's got a lot of grime, which I guess makes sense. It's a car guy car.
And he is a dirty racer.
Oh, that's a little harsh.
Hey-o.
Not terribly called for.
Node said I couldn't.
He's really only known for his silly must pit at the very end of every pit window without really any plan. I'm actually kind of hoping he screws that up today. And the reason is that I've been getting back into the Mio's Corner racing etiquette and theory videos, and I kind of want an example of him like costing himself a win by going too deep into the race. just so I can do that video. So now everybody knows what I'm interested in today. Because I did pick on RWB Robert last time I did the ones, and it was not meant to be intentional. It wasn't meant to be personal or an attack on RWB Robert. I want to make that quite clear. It's just doing these videos without referencing people by name. You have to like cover all kinds of stuff up when you're making your points. It's just like I'm not going through that. You guys made the mistake. You're big enough to have me talk about it.
That's why I don't race. Can't point out any mistakes.
That's true. You are mistake free, sir. I can never point out a motorsport mistake by my fine commentary partner Byron Derksen.
I am simply flawless.
I did point out a mistake the other day with something to do with MMA, but I can't remember what it was now.
I don't know. Probably me assuming somebody was in a different weight class.
I think it was you thought somebody had fought someone. I said no, they fought this person, and then we got into a brief debate about it. But I can't remember the substantive part of that.
That shit happens all the time. I can't remember stuff.
Yeah, I know that does happen. It happens more with Rob Carroll and Sean Hatch, in fairness, which is weird.
They are from places with very, very low educational systems.
Which is weird because I talk to them very, very little in comparison to how much I talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even really watch fights with them anymore. But every so often we'll have a rousing debate where I am always right, except that I am an encyclopedia.
He cheats. He uses Google.
I do not. To be honest, some of these things you couldn't even cheat to by using Google. It's like. I mean, the favorite thing everyone has is like, Mike, I need you to name this fighter. I'm like, I'm going to need more than that. I'm going to require details. I'm an encyclopedia, not a mind reader. Like these are not the same thing. Interesting to see Morpheus 1975 up there. Not, a fast driver to be sure, and I'm not trying to suggest otherwise, but he's very much at the sharp end today. So. He gets my rooting interest. I mean, one, his name is Morpheus, and we can make endless Matrix jokes if he wins. I mean, tons. But it would also be nice just to see a new fresh face at the top of the podium, to be honest. So he's got 50% of the commentary team rooting for him.
Go team.
Also, of course, Javier Perez Torres down in 9th place. I want to see him go forward because he's Javi B, and he is Destroyer of Worlds. And he is of course our man. Also, a little bit of love for Batmobile because he listened to us and changed his name. I mean,
simply the best.
Indeed. So the grid is forming up here. We got about 5 seconds to go before the start your engines light goes. Here we go. And the front row is a little bit slow there. Kim Johansson getting the jump on everybody a little bit. He'll have to filter back into his grid position behind Morpheus 1975. Looks like he has. Warburton on the 3rd row with, that is Marcus Soup Total. On board with the championship elect, Voodoo Child. I think Voodoo literally would have to take like a bunch of penalties here today to lose his championship. So we'll see what happens. He's falling a little bit back at Max Simmons, and he's exposing himself to a lot of pressure there from both Morpheus and Johansson. Johansson, by the way, is showing up as a blank McLaren car. So, Mr. Johansson, your custom livery appears not to be in the package.
It's in the mail. It'll get there.
Max Simmons gets the inside line, but that's a really good run around the outside from Voodoo Child. He might, in fact, have first place. We check back with Daniel Madringa, who's gotten off to a great start by the looks of it. Madringa absolutely scorching it. I'm not sure he's in 5th place as it's claiming, but he is higher than his 8th on the grid. And falling back, it is Javier Perez Torres, who's gotten off to a bad start. He's down to 11th place. Voodoo Child does have the lead over Max Simmons. Morpheus is in 3rd place, followed by Kate Warburton. Look up the inside there for Madringa for 5th place against Johansson. Was defended and actually has left him kind of open to the attack of Batmobile. Or pardon me, not Batmobile, Marcus Subtotal.
Mobile.
Then it is Batmobile, back in 8th place, Dave Nelson. ESR championship leader in the Academy right now. And RWB Robert rounding off the top 10. Warburton, looked like Javier's out wide. Looks like he may have tried to overtake RWB Robert, and it did not work out for him.
I'm going to fire the photon torpedoes first.
I mean, that would help. Let's be real. I mean, a race car would not hold up very well at all to a torpedo attack.
What if you modified a photon torpedo and raced that instead? You'd totally win.
Oh, that would be really good, although very cramped based on the images of the inside of a torpedo from Star Trek 2, 3, and 6.
Correct.
Honestly, Star Trek 6, very underrated movie. It's actually one of my favorites.
Which one's that again?
That is the Undiscovered Country, where they have the Klingon bird of prey that can fire well cloaked. It has
they go find God at the center of the universe?
No, that was 5.
Oh, my
bad. That was... I don't remember the name of 5 now, which... Actually, I'm going to be honest here. I kind of enjoy 5, but not like as a serious Star Trek movie. It's like comedic. I think we just caught the end of a Kim Johansson, Kate Warburton come together there. And yep, there it is. Warburton is off. Johansson is off. I saw that in the stewarding meeting and kind of knew it was coming.
Womp womp.
It's actually my only spoiler for this race, so I will be spoiler-free for the rest of this festivity. Voodoo continues to lead from Simmons. Morpheus 1975. At that point, the standings there failed me because 4th and 5th place are no longer there. They have collided, and I think are at the back of the pack.
The 5th Star Trek movie is called The Final Frontier and was directed by Mr. William Shatner.
That explains so much.
The previous 2 films, Voyage Home and Search for Spock, were both directed by Leonard Nimoy. Also written, Voyage Home was co-written by Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy. Sci-fi has lost a treasure in you.
Correct.
Also, of course, everyone's been sharing the Alex Trebek, Sean Connery Jeopardy memes with the news that Alex Trebek has passed away.
This is true, and I am sad.
With many, like, aha, Trebek, I have beaten you here once again. So Daniel Madringa's up into 4th place due to that accident. He's got Batmobile on his tail, and then Marcus Subtotal. RWB, or Dave Nelson, RWB Robert in close proximity, Javier Perez Torres, and Big Al fighting it out for 7th place.
Big sexual orientation Al.
Marcus Subtotal looking for a way around the Batmobile. Both of those have very nice looking textures on their cars. I do perhaps have to learn how to do that because RWB, of course, it has a maximum size to liveries to avoid the processing spike. And it does mean you have to get kind of creative to get something cool without it becoming too big.
Please make the car smaller.
Dave Nelson defends against RWB Robert and Javi Perez Torres finding his way through and up into 8th position.
Gonna get jalapeno business.
I mean, that is the area of the world he is from. They are all jalapeno business. And Hamza Muhammad's gotten on the back of this, so really it's just Warburton and Johansson that are quite a ways back due to their contact. I wonder how damaged the cars are. They were both looking like they might have a fight for a podium in them, and suddenly now they are playing catch-up. Voodoo Child still in the lead from Simmons and Morpheus. That top 3 has not changed. Javier's got a look on Dave Nelson. Going for the move. Although it's down the outside, Nelson does have a good defensive... Oh no! Contact! Nelson gets obliterated, and RWB Robert says, thank you for the 2 position. Oh, God, Robert. Whoa! Whoa, he picked up 2 spots and then throws it away. He's good.
I don't know about that.
I mean, the car's not good, but, like, I mean, contact-wise, he's good.
Yeah.
And there goes the McLarens of Warburton and Johansson. I just came to mind that was actually a contact between 2 brand mates earlier on between the McLarens. As Daniel Madringa loses 4th place to Batmobile and is trying to defend hard against Marcus Subtotal. Whoa, Marcus, that's not the track. It's not the track, friend. Not the track. That ends that battle.
It's a creative interpretation of track limits.
I mean, I feel like even you as a track designer should appreciate the track limits, sir.
Yeah.
You've channeled your creativity, and at some point, ESR crew, if I could get a multiplayer session of Trackmania to work, we could do some Trackmania stuff. But it's a free game, it's a good game, but the multiplayer does not really work.
I think you have to You have to buy it, and then you can do multiplayer, or you have to buy something.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but we could get it to work on LAN, but not over the internet. I do recall that.
Yeah. There's got to be a way you can bamboozle that.
Probably. I think we did figure out that you could through like a virtual LAN software. Like, don't remember the name of the one we used, but we did get it to work. But it is a pain in the arse. But the tracks are good. Byron displayed himself as the anti-Herman Tilke. As Dave Nelson hits the pit lane, so his car, I wouldn't be surprised if it's really, really effed up after that contact with Javier Perez Torres. That will not count as his required pit stop, of course. The window is not open. Simmons still leading from Voodoo, Morpheus, Beal, Madringa, Subtotal, Perez Torres. Big Al's up to 8th place, as well as Hamza Muhammad in 9th and 10th place for Kate Warburton. She is closing the gap to Muhammad and Big Al, so we should probably get a camera on her relatively soon, I would think. As well as Kim Johansson, who's going to be storming through the grid right behind her. And here is Big Al being chased by Hamza Muhammad. We click over to Muhammad's teammate, Morpheus, 1975, in the Simsock Porsche. He's keeping up with Voodoo Child, so I said it was a bit odd to see him at the sharp end of the grid, but he is delivering, and he's got some pace today. So go Morpheus. Find the red or blue pill, whichever makes you go faster. I honestly am not entirely certain.
You have to put that in the gas tank, or is you going to take it?
I imagine that probably either of those options work, as Dave Nelson rejoins the track. Hopefully he stays out of the way, and he does. Ooh, I don't like the fact that Javier Perez Torres is falling like a cheap brick right now. That might indicate that the Lexus driver has lost the plot.
And or oil pressure.
That would be possible. But he has dropped to 12th place, regardless of what it is, and that is last place on the lead lap. We're about 10 minutes away from the opening of the pit window. Not that I think any of these three will be thinking about it, though Morpheus is starting to get stretched on a little bit. There is Big Al, RWB International, Ferrari, with the Simsock Porsche of Hamza Muhammad on his tail. And behind them you can see Warburton and Johansson, as the two McLarens are catching the slower cars that they allowed past them when they had their tango on lap 2. YouTube is recommending that I review the Marvelous Me theme song by Dale Oliver for Scott Hall during his TNA run. I may have to do that because I don't think I remember that particular theme song.
Well, it's kind of a bouncy polka type affair.
That seems unlikely, but possible. I mean, by the time Scott Hall hit TNA, I mean anything was possible.
These are true statements.
There was a lot of substance abuse going on there. Big Al is having a hell of a race right now, up in 7th place. Started, I want to say, last, and by a good margin. So he's found a bit of pace. He's kept it clean where others have not. And it looks like Johansson overtook Warburton in the background, so he is up to 9th place. But, for example, of course, Warburton and Johansson had their tangle. RWB Robert had his moment. Javier Perez Torres has had a pair of moments. And in the meantime, Big Al is just like, thank you, coming through. I will take 7th place, thank you.
This sounds very momentous.
It does.
Have, momentum in their moment?
Mm-hmm. This race is all about momentous moments. Look out the back of Big Al. And we switch over to the other Ferrari of Daniel Madringa. The Ferraris in general doing quite well. Simmons, of course, out in the lead. Madringa's up to 5th. Big Al's up to 7th. So something about this track may be suiting the Ferrari 488. We're due to get a new Ferrari in the game on the next DLC package coming out, which is the 488 Evo, which would be very, very similar to this car. So nothing to get tremendously excited about. We're also getting the Big Mouth Bass Mercedes in the next one, as well as a bunch of new liveries and the new track of Imola. And hopefully, I've heard a rumor that Magny Cours will be part of that DLC as well. Not immediately, but once it gets added to the game, if you have the DLC, I believe it will be added kind of free of charge, which would be nice. As that is on
low cost of $75.
As that is on the 2020 schedule, and that is what the DLC we're getting in is the 2020 DLC for the SRO World Challenge of Europe. Daniel Madringa taking a look there at Batmobile. He was ahead of Batmobile at one point, so he definitely does have enough pace to possibly get this done. They go side by side. I don't know the turn names here. My apologies. So there will be no repartee like there would be at a Monza or a Brands Hatch or a Zolder, where I actually know the turn names. I don't know them here. Defensive line there for Batmobile.
Chuck.
And Batmobile hangs on for... Oh, no, he doesn't. He got off that turn very wrong. And that is going to let Madringa through. And Marcus Subtotal might have a shot as well. Not giving up. Hey. Can we get back on that, please?
Nope.
What the hell? Kim Johansson on the charge against Hamza Mohammed. I mean, also important, but we had a side-by-side for 4th place going on there, and it looks like Batmobile has held it.
I can't take it anymore. I just want known that that driver's name can be rearranged into a mixed martial artist. Joachim Hansen.
Indeed. Our boy, Hellboy.
Correct. You fight Brazilians, Norwegians,
Japanese. Anybody. A lot of Japanese.
A lot of Japanese.
Pretty much all the Japanese greats when it comes down to it. At his weight class, I should reference. No one's fought an entire country's greats outside of. I mean, I guess there's like random countries that have like 1 or 2 great fighters. I guess you could go through all that.
I'm pretty sure Sakuraba destroyed the entirety of Brazil.
Just the Gracie family.
That's pretty much the whole thing.
There's a vendetta against the Gracie family. So Madringa is up into 4th place. I'm not sure if he got by earlier. Oh, Batmobile has also lost a spot to Subtotal, so looks like he may eventually have gotten shoved out wide. This is one of the harder corners on the circuit because it's a flowing hairpin, which is a bit weird. Into this like question mark shaped thing, which is also a bit weird. And then this is the turn that everybody really doesn't like. It's this chicane, which just kind of just ruins the whole flow of the track towards the final turn. And it's also, it kind of lies to you a little bit in the sense that it really seems like a good overtaking spot until you try doing it and you realize it's really actually not that great of an overtaking spot. So Daniel Madringa under pressure from Marcus Subtotal, battle for 4th place. As Johansson and Warburton have cleared Mohammed. So Mohammed back down to 8th place, or 10th place, I should say. And they're up to 8th and 9th behind Big Al. Madringa getting shot up the inside there by Marcus Subtotal, and I honestly think the Ferrari just completely misplayed that sequence of events. And that has allowed the Aston Martin into 4th place. Surprised there's not more Aston Martins. It's another car that has a lot of, well, let's face it, James Bond mystique to it. And not a lot of people have picked it.
That is probably because they found out it doesn't come with all the missiles and guns and stuff.
I mean, people also have never figured out that the Porsche doesn't come with making you into Stefan Beloff as a driver, yet they still pick it. So Soup Total up into 4th place. Top 3 remains unchanged. Johansson's taken 7th from Big Al. And is got his sights set on these 3 next, I would imagine, as he is behind Batmobile by about 7 seconds. Soup Total, very good lap there, 46.3, 2/10 off of his best lap. Javier Perez Torres is struggling today. Back in 12th place, but he's within a second of RWB Robert, so hopefully he can put some pressure on. And in fact, there it is. He's got Hamza Mohammed and RWB Robert lined up. Going down the inside of Robert, trying to go 2 for 1 here into turn 1. And I don't think he's going to get Mohammed, but he is going to get Robert, so that is 11th place for Javi Perez Torres. JPT.
JPTOP.
Mohammed is next on his list. Looking for a way through. Had a good run there, but I think he took a little bit too much curb. Mohammed defending hard. Shading over there. Doing a good aggressive job. Nothing illegal.
Nothing illegal is my middle name.
That's a lie.
Can't prove that.
It's George.
It's not George.
It is not George, I'm aware. I don't even know it. I don't know what your middle name is. I think he told me at one point, but it just slipped my mind.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's not George or Aloysius or Peter the Great. Or...
Is it El Dirte?
No, but that would be pretty cool.
That would be your parents being very forward thinking.
Who was? I think it was Penn Jillette. Gave his daughter's middle name is Crime Fighter, one word. So that if she ever gets pulled over, then she can like just hand her license to the cop and go, "See, I'm a crime fighter, just like you."
Mm-hmm. Pit window is open. We'll see if anybody comes in early. Couple of cars might be carrying some damage, so we might see some early pit stops here. Whoa! Big defensive move there by Hamza Mohammed. Forcing Javier to the outside, but that is the racing line, and Javier is going to get that spot. I think actually that aggressive defensive move there really cost Mohammed, because I think it killed all his momentum into turn 1.
As we know, the best defense is an army of gorillas jacked up on coke.
Ooh, Javier doing a little flashing there, but he's not flashing at anybody. That might just be him being a little bit enraged by the defensive move. Also, I thought it was a little bit silly for Mohammed, because there's nothing that has led me to believe that he's on the pace with Javier. That feels like a definite, to go back to my Racing Corner video, a bit of an overcommit to fighting a car that is not really your rival. But that's just me.
Something on arrival. I don't have a joke, but I just
Total has gotten past Madringa there for 4th place, so good work on him. He's well ahead of Madringa too, so that might have actually been a mistake by Madringa. Although Batmobile did not get past him, so Soup Total is just right now on a hot streak and doing quite well.
Total. Mm-hmm. That reminds me, I gotta rewatch Lucha Underground.
Indeed. I mean, watching Lucha Underground is like a yearly thing at least. Hamza Mohammed into the pit lane in the Team Simsock Porsche. Didn't expect him to be the first pit stopper because, to be honest, I didn't think he had any damage. That being said, may have asked a bit much out of his tires there trying to defend against Javier Perez-Torres, and that might be a reason to come into pits, although hasn't had any lap times to indicate that he's slower, so a bit unusual, but, oh, well, his last lap was a 2:07. I may be underselling damage here.
When, in fact, you should be overselling all the damage. Therefore, everybody looks like a goddamn hero at the end of the day.
Big Al with Kate Warburton up behind him. This is the battle for 8th place. Ferrari v McLaren. It doesn't get any more classic than Ferrari v McLaren, outside of maybe Ferrari v Ford.
Correct.
Although, to be honest, outside of F1, McLaren and Ferrari don't really have a particularly tight rivalry, to be honest. It's really just an F1 thing. Max Simmons, your race leader, in the car guy Ferrari.
He's like 13 laps ahead, too.
No, he's not. He's 7 seconds. He's 7 seconds ahead.
It says right there, 13 laps.
That's not the gap, sir. That's how many laps he's done.
A likely story.
Big Al defending against Warburton. This is a bit of a case of a slower car versus a faster car, but that does not mean that he has to give way in any way, shape, or form as long as he's maintaining a good pace. If I were Warburton, I might think about a pit stop, to be honest, because I would have thought she's one of the cars carrying damage. And an early pit stop wouldn't hurt, especially when held up behind a very competent but not overly fast Big Al.
Cardinal Big Al's? That's never going to get old for me. I'm just going to keep doing Monty Python until everybody's thoroughly disgusted.
Kimi Johansson's caught up to the back of the battle for 4th place. He's only 2.7 seconds behind, so he is making hay while the sun shines. Wayne approves.
It is a good day for hay.
It's a good day for hay. Fucking great day for hay.
What's it to you?
Don't come up the property. Warburton on the tail of Big Al. This is really the only battle going on, so I hope the camera sticks with it a while. There's Javi P in the background, as well as RWB Robert. Looks like we lost Hamza Mohammed, so that pit stop may have been to fix something terminal as Big Al makes a mistake, and through goes the McLaren 720S of Kate Warburton up into 8th place. As they head towards the end of lap 14. We are approaching the halfway mark, and we still have 14 minutes to go for pit stops. Nobody is done their mandatory pit stop. Dave Nelson's been in the pits, as is Hamza Mohammed, but Mohammed never came out, and Nelson pitted before the pit window was open.
What a naughty, naughty boy.
Simmons is out to an 8.4 second lead over Voodoo Child. Morpheus pretty on his own. Soup Total pretty on his own. Batmobile is still kind of close to Madringa, so we should see a little bit of that action, although he has lost a second in the last lap to Kim Johansson. Johansson is the danger person right now. Absolutely on the charge. He is the one that goes fast.
Correct.
I would like to get the camera onto him, but I don't think that there's anything happening right now there. We're going to get a gap update here. Oh, God, it's down to 0.7. He has taken another full second out of Batmobile. Can we please get the camera onto that, please?
Nope.
That's the fight. That's the fight right now. No offense to Big Al, but that is the fight right now. And there we go. Hey, listen to me. Batmobile, Kim Johansson, Lexus versus McLaren. Here we go. Lexus RCF, McLaren 720S. Johansson looking for the move. Batmobile going highly defensive. Cuts off the slipstream, but man, that McLaren just absolutely overpowers him on the straightaway. And that is 5th place to Johansson because Voodoo Child is in the pit lane, serving his mandatory pit stop. Next up on Johansson's list, Daniel Madringa.
Dun 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 dun.
The Great Black Shark. See where Voodoo Child comes out. Looks like it'll be 7th, maybe 8th place, maybe 9th place, somewhere in the region.
73rd place.
He's rolling out now. Warburton does overtake him. Big Al does as well, and Javier Perez Torres. And Robert, so he slips right to the back of the lead lap. So a pit stop right now would not be super advisable because it does put you with some traffic. I think the leaders need to wait for the herd to thin out a little bit. So this might be a slight mistake by Voodoo Child. Depends on how much he gets held up by the likes of RWB Robert, Javier Perez Torres, Big Al, while he's out there on fresh, hot rubber. Well, right now cold rubber, but it'll get hot.
Just put it in the microwave before we put it on the car. Come on, guys.
They do I don't know if this game has tire warmers, actually, because in some forms of racing, you're allowed to wrap this blanket around the tire, which does actually warm it up.
Just put your, it's like get the electric blanket out of the closet that you use when your back goes out.
Kind of, yeah. Drive-through penalty for Big Al. That is not good.
Naughty boy.
Oh, somebody is off at the side of the road. That is Marcus Subtotal. And that's a free spot for Johansson up into 4th place. As well as Batmobile, now into 5th. Not really sure what happened with Subtotal there because he was very much on his own. So that might be a self-enforced mistake. Kate Warburton into the pit lane. As is Big Al. I assume that's to serve the drive-through for Big Al. That might work out very badly for Warburton, actually, because she just got clear of Big Al, and Big Al's going to overtake her in the pit lane if he is doing that drive-through, because drive-through is going to take less time than a full pit stop. And then she might come out right behind that slow traffic again. This might help out Big Al, though. Or, pardon me, Voodoo Child. No, not quite. Big Al well ahead of Voodoo Child out of the pit lane. We'll see when he pits. Because he's kind of a bit of a linchpin, I think, right now to a battle here. Because RWB Robert and Javier Perez Torres want him to go long so that they can stretch their legs.
Go long and strong and down to get the friction on.
Oh, no, Voodoo did overtake Big Al, so that's not as important as I was thinking. Max Simmons getting some lapped in. Oh, he is in lap traffic. Maybe we have a video. We'll see. We'll see. Kim Johansson in 4th place. Having a great charge through the field after that contact with brand mate Warburton. It's gone a lot better for him than it has for Warburton. So Johansson showing maybe his finest performance of the season, to be honest. At least the finest performance I've had the pleasure to call. As he is mowing down Daniel Madringa right now. That gap is down to 1.088. Marcus Subtotal into the pit lane.
Surely make you lose your mind.
There is Javier Perez Torres' rear wing. Not really sure why we're seeing that, but I'm fine with it.
For he has a shapely back end.
RWB Robert looks like he's not going to try and use Big Al as a bulwark as he hits the pit lane. I would have tried to stretch that myself, but of course I don't know what RWB Robert's fuel status was. Could have played big dividends in the fight with Warburton, and I think this will pay big dividends for Javier Perez Torres if he can go later than Big Al. Big Al is in the pits. All right, so what Javier wants right now is Big Al to come out ahead of RWB Robert and ahead of Kate Warburton, because those two are the people he's battling with. And it would be interesting to see if he can pick up some spots here off of that. Marcus Subtotal is also a bit of a wild card because he pitted with presumably some heavy damage. And that could lead to a very long pit stop. Kim Johansson's up into the top 3, having displaced Daniel Madringa. He's probably only in 4th place overall. He's probably behind Voodoo Child. Morpheus into the pit lane, as is Madringa. So this is Johansson's chance. He needs to get out here and absolutely be busting some really solid laps. Not that 47.6 that he just put up. He needs faster than that right now.
It is the Johan's chance to dance with no pants.
It is. RWB Robert coming out of the pits behind Warburton, it looks like. And behind Big Al. We'll see where that sorts out. I've got bad timing info there at the side of the screen because I see RWB Robert behind Warburton, and that is Marcus Subtotal, actually. I thought that was Big Al. So Subtotal, throughout this whole thing, has dropped a spot to Warburton. We'll see if Warburton can hang on. RWB Robert in the mix as well. The last lap listed there is a pit lap. 3 minutes, though, is a long pit lap, so Warburton did have some damage to fix up. And I imagine so did Subtotal to end up behind her. It's maybe open. This is really helping. This is going to really help Javier Perez Torres out. Has Javi pitted? No, Javi is staying out. Javi is going long. Batmobile, Madringa are currently in the pit lane. I would like to get the camera on Javi at some point so we can see a last lap time, because the question is he going fast right now or slow? I hope he's going fast, because I've been trying to mold Javier's tactical brain, and I'm very interested to see if this plays out.
Well, I mean, if you're not first, you're last. So, I mean, there's that.
I mean, there is a certain truth to that. Big Al is somehow falling behind Dave Nelson. That's kind of surprising. I mean, I guess he did have that drive-through, though.
We're just going to make Javi take a lot of drugs and watch Talladega Nights on repeat for 3 days straight.
I feel like that would develop no tactical sense whatsoever.
I don't know. Might work.
Warburton did a 46.8 last time around. If I could get on Javi, it'd be interesting to see what he did. There is Max Simmons. He has lapped Daniel Madringa. We haven't seen him lose any time yet, but I feel like he may have... Oh, Javi's in the pits. All right. So we're down to just Simmons and Nelson who need to pit. 2 most American-sounding names in the field.
Which is weird because both of them are from Moldova.
No, they're both American.
Shut up!
We actually do have a Moldovan in the field.
Is he a real Moldovan?
He's in that Ferrari that is right behind Mr. Simmons. That is Daniel Madringa.
That long, cool Madringa water.
Warburton under immense pressure from Marcus Subtotal, and I expect this will not end because Subtotal was up in 4th place. And he is closing up in the braking zones considerably. RWB Robert is licking his chops back there. There is Max Simmons, another lap around, 46.9. Not a great lap, but not a terrible one either. He is, of course, buying himself additional tire life at the end of the race by going this deep. Question is, will it cost him? Can Voodoo get that track position? We haven't seen Voodoo, so we have no idea what kind of lap times he's putting up. 46.2 from Warburton. That's a good lap. It's only about a 10th off her fastest. So despite defending, she is putting up good lap times. So if you have a copy of this replay and you want to check out defensive driving, this lap was probably a good example of it.
But you can't prove it.
Kept the car behind and put up a decent lap time. Nelson into the pit lane, so it is, as per usual, Max Simmons will be the last one to pit.
Joke's on him, I blew all of his tires up in the pit.
They're all over pressurized.
Literally running around on hard-ass donut tires.
They'd also be really cold because, of course, it would take longer for the air to get up to temperature within the core of the tire.
Physics?
The tire physics in this game are quite nice. I do really admire them. I've said it repetitively, there are aspects of this game that I don't really care for, but the tire physics is pretty top-notch. It's not like, for example, Race Room, who you've seen us do a lot of commentary on, where there has definitively been some problems with the tire physics. Let's be real. To the final chicane here. We're sticking with the Warburton v Subtotal fight, just looking to see if anything more interesting is happening. Not really. These are the two closest together cars. In fact, the next smallest gap is the one between Subtotal and RWB Robert, although he is vanished. Where is Robert? New fastest lap for Warburton, 46 flat that time around. That was a personal best, not an overall best. People have been in the 45s today, so a couple of tenths off the optimal pace. And Robert has fallen back 7 seconds back, so I don't know what happened to him. We completely missed that. Back to Max Simmons. There's a look at a particularly good lap, 45.3. He's still running high 46s, nothing to be alarmed about, but he should be thinking about hitting the pits now. Mostly because I'm not entirely sure he can get into a lap in before the window closes. So we should see the leader in this lap. That's the other thing with flirting with going this late into the window. I mean, if he were to cast his curse here for a moment, crash, he might entirely miss the window. He's clearly moving slower than Madringa, but Madringa cannot make a move on him, and as long as Simmons is not being held up by that, it is not a problem. Although it does indicate that his tires are past the best before date as he hits the pit lane. Slightly illegal pit entrance there. I'm gonna bust on Max's balls this whole time.
Slightly illegal is best kind of tactic.
Dude. So Simmons is in the pit lane. We don't have any idea what the gap to Voodoo is, but hopefully we'll find out. Not really sure why we picked up Batmobile here. He's quite a ways behind Madringa and quite a ways ahead of Javier. Javier's late run has kind of worked out, I think, a little bit because he's now got Warburton and Subtotal behind him. So that's helped him out. He's up into 7th place. Very solid. There is Warburton, 46.4 last time around. Be interested to see what Subtotal is doing because he is right on her tail. I imagine very similar. The question would be, what is Subtotal's fastest lap? And that would probably give us an idea of the performance delta between these two cars. Or these two drivers, I should say, because it's not really a delta between the cars, per se. Simmons just got his pit stop done in time. Whew, I would have gone a lap earlier. By the way, interesting story with this Jensen Team Rocket RJN car. Oh, no! Subtotal got a great run there. There was contact. Don't really know who I would apportion blame there. Didn't look like Warburton moved, so it's kind of hard to apportion the blame towards her. And it did not come up in the stewards meeting. So presumably both were okay.
No one's to blame. They swerved to miss a wallaby on the track.
I mean, this is Spain, so the wallaby doesn't really work. More like a deadly cobra.
Well, that's why they were so surprised.
I mean, well, that would be even more surprising. I was finishing up my story about the Jensen Team Rocket car here. Number 1, of course, owned by former F1 champion Jensen Button. So that's, in itself makes it one of the coolest cars in the field. But Byron, there's an interesting story about this car. In the British GT Championship, where this team runs predominantly, they run a driver by the name of James Baldwin. Now, James Baldwin is interesting because he is not a traditional driver. He is actually someone who has developed the reputation as the world's fastest sim racer.
Oh, interesting.
And is actually driving for an F1 World Champions team.
That's pretty cool. Well done.
Very cool. You can see them race in the silver category of the British GT Championship on The Race YouTube channel, if you so are predisposed.
I mean, I'm pretty busy watching these professional CSGO dudes.
We're not actually sponsored by the race. I want to make that clear. I just, I just think that sim racers should watch more racing. That's what it comes down to.
Makes sense to me.
Javier Perez Torres catching up to the lapped car of Dave Nelson. These two had some priors before, and it's actually why Nelson is down a lap. So hopefully there are no hard feelings. Oh, okay, Nelson's just going to let him by. Nice and easy. Get that blue flag out of the way. And of course, British GT Championship is particularly interesting because it is, it is the place where the cars that we're racing right here go to play. Not all of them necessarily. There are no Lexuses, for example. But there are McLarens, there are Ferraris, there are Mercedes, so on. Daniel Madringa in 5th place.
Is it true that you can get a McLaren at McDonald's?
Maybe that's the British giveaway car.
Hey.
It's been a weird race for Daniel Madringa. I mean, you'd think 5th place would feel really good, but the pace he was showing early on made me think he was maybe going to fight for a podium, and he's just nowhere near that, and has been left for dead by Kim Johansson. So I don't know what to make of this race for Madringa. Maybe a stamina issue where he just can't keep the pace that he's obviously capable of doing for the full race. Javier Perez Torres, one of the late pit stoppers. I think it's worked out fairly well for him. It's gotten him ahead of Warburton and Subtotal, although I think both of those cars having damaged themselves did play a large role into that. But I do think he's played the track position fairly well. He's close to Batmobile. Don't think he... Well, maybe. We'll see what the gap is at the next timing section. 8.4 seconds in 15 minutes. Possible. Depends on what kind of laps they're running. Might get to see what Javier is doing here for lap times as he approaches the finish line. Heading towards the final chicane and then the final turn. Gliding through there.
Dashing through the snow.
I mean, if you had to do a snow race with these cars, I think the Lexus would be a good choice. And he did a 46.2, so he is not quite on his ultimate pace. He did a 45.5 at some point, so he's about 7/10 off that, but 46.2 is a solid lap time. No idea what Batmobile is running, although apparently it's a lot less, because actually the gap is down to 7.7, which means he made up 7/10 of a second in that third sector alone. So Batmobile either has a problem or is just going very slowly right now. Let's see if that keeps up. We'll see if it was a mistake or if it was a legitimate pace thing. Because he didn't make up really any... He made up 3 more tenths in the first sector. Presumably that is Batmobile in the gray dot just ahead of him. Invisible right now on the map. There it is. Making his way through the uphill S. So this looks like it looks like the auto director has decided this is the best fight to look at. I kind of disagree because it looks like Marcus Subtotal's catching up to RWB Robert, and I feel like that's probably really where the interest is right now. But we'll find out. And the gap is down to 6.9. Interestingly, Batmobile is not losing ground nearly as fast as Daniel Madringa. So Madringa and Batmobile going rather slow right now. And Javier Perez Torres may yet be the danger man. Took out over a second on that last lap.
I demand that more seconds be taken off because reasons.
I'm fine with it. Another 46.2, so very consistent lap times, and the gap is down to 7.3. We'll check that out. But I was saying Marcus Subtotal versus RWB Robert might be a place to look, and here we are. Subtotal in the Aston Martin, RWB Robert in the yellow Porsche, battling over 9th place. Subtotal 46.4 last time around. Gap is down to 1.1 seconds. He'll be in striking range, I think, quite soon.
We will strike at him. We'll strike him above
In
the
the
head and
meantime,
face.
Max Simmons is battling with somebody. Lapped car.
People.
That would be that's Big Al that he's getting past. It looked like we didn't see enough to really see that, but that looked a little rough for a blue flag overtake.
You know, if he had a different colored livery, we could start calling him Big Gray Al.
Oh. I mean, realistically, his last name is Gooch, so I mean, we know where we go.
The Gooch.
The Gooch. The coach. Gucci RWB. There we go. New faction. New faction. RWB Robert hanging on. Let's see, 9th place at the moment, but that gap is down to less than a half second. Subtotal's got the pace, but catching and overtaking are two separate things. We'll see what he can do. Last time we saw him to go for an overtake, it did not work out terribly well for him.
I would like it known that I sat on that Big Gray Al joke for a long time because I never saw him on screen, and I wanted to make sure he wasn't already in a gray livery. I'm like, is it? Nope, that's not. Oh, nope, no, that's not him. Oh, come on, goddammit. Oh, he got a penalty. We get to see him now. No.
We saw him earlier when Warburton caught up to him.
Yeah, I must have missed it. But we got there in the end, and that's all that matters.
We did get there in the end. That is the key. There's also a guy named Mad Al who I think races in Tier 1.
Wow. So many L's, so many emotions.
So many. RWB Robert hanging on still. It does definitely feel like Subtotal's got a much faster package today. He's got that express package. But at the moment, as is the common maxim of racing, catching is one thing, overtaking is a completely different thing. Javier Perez Torres, by the way, is down to 5.6 seconds behind Batmobile, so that gap is still closing. And oh, there we go. This might be it. Subtotal up the inside, heading towards the final stretch of the track. This hairpin does give him the inside. Can he get the spot back? Looks like he will, but he's going to shoot wide. That's going to give the inside line through here to Subtotal, but it changes back to the inside line for RWB Robert through the long right-hander. And it looks like he will retain the position for now. Why are we looking at Dave Nelson?
He was very attractive.
I don't mean to be insulting here, Dave, but you are down a lap and really not racing with anybody? And to be clear, I appreciate that he's still out there running, still getting the points, still bringing it home, still representing ESR with the truculence and stick-to-itiveness that we are known for.
Correct.
But that being said, there are other places I wish the camera was, is what I'm getting at.
Wow.
We've got a great battle between RWB Robert and Marcus Subtotal going on right now. There we go. We're back on it. RWB still holding strong against Subtotal. That last lap, though, was rough. 51-3. This fighting is slowing them down, although it does not matter because there's really no one else to talk about. They're 19-plus seconds behind Warburton and well clear of Big Al. So this is the type of racing you really enjoy because it's crystallized. There's not a lot of variables to think about. It's you versus the other car. It's really simple and really exciting and exuberant. And we're on board with Morpheus. Don't know why. He's not near anybody.
He's very attractive and also might just matrix the shit out of something.
I've turned the pack and proximity way up, yet we still get moments like this where we go to a car that is doing nothing.
Wow, hurtful. He's trying his best.
He's driving around a track. He's hot lapping. It's fine. Voodoo, not really challenging Max Simmons today. 11.9 seconds back right now. There we are back where the money is. Sub total. RWB Robert through the chicane. And Robert is still hanging on. He's making that Porsche really, really wide. Showing some great defensive driving skill. It's nothing flashy. It's very simple stuff, but it's getting the job done. I do have some doubts as to if he can hold on for another 7 minutes, but doing his best. Despite a considerable pace differential. I mean, there's I want to say like 1.5 seconds of pace differential between these two cars, and he is still doggedly hanging on to 9th place.
Rough.
Javier Perez Torres watch. It's down to 3.9 seconds. He coming.
Oh, Lord. He arriving.
And Robert gets the inside line as Subtotal tries to go around the outside again. It does not work this time. But he's still got a good run through here. But again, it's going to be the outside line. Oh, just got it. That's a lot of faith in the car that you're racing against. That's a good overtake by Marcus Subtotal. Bold, though, as that could have resulted in a shunt. But bold and quality. There we go. Subtotal will probably be able to drive a little bit away from Robert now as he looks to get some gap and assure himself 9th place. Simmons has grown the gap back to Voodoo Child to 13.7 seconds over the last lap. So he is... That late pit stop and Voodoo's early pit stop has put them on completely different ends of the tire spectrum.
One of them's round and the other one not so round.
You're not wrong, probably. I would imagine Voodoo's tires are taking a slightly box-like objective shape. So Javier Perez Torres is now the danger man. 1.7 seconds to Batmobile. Interesting, Batmobile is still catching up to Madringa, so whatever is plaguing Batmobile, and I don't know what it would be interested if he could leave a comment on this video and let us know. But he is going quite slowly, and so is Daniel Madringa. So this is opening the door. I think Madringa is fairly safe from Javier. I just don't think there's enough time left with 5 minutes to go. So it doesn't really matter, but it's interesting that those two cars seem to have... And they weren't particularly early pit stoppers, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. It looks like they just completely lost the tires.
There's sparks everywhere.
Well, maybe we'll get to see. Second place man, Voodoo Child, the championship leader. Javier Perez Torres, still shown in 7th place. There is Batmobile ahead of him. Top Lexus honors on the line between Batmobile and Javi Perez Torres. Go, Javi, go. Go, Javi, go.
You can do it.
Javi looking down the inside here into turn 1. Thinks better of it. Wasn't quite close enough. It's getting quite dark out on track. See a lot more enduro lights clicking on.
And as is tradition, we will be running the final lap completely in the dark.
That'd be interesting. We did that at Zolder.
No headlights, no taillights.
Oh no, we had headlights. No taillights on the car of Batmobile. Interesting. Oh! Contact! I'd like to see that from the outside before I make any thoughts of assigning blame.
We're just definitely going to not blame Javier because he is a sweet and innocent lad.
He is. He's highly innocent. We also traumatized him with Ramis Bragamov's ear the other day.
Oh, yeah. That was fun.
And that was fun. Disgusting, but fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, that will retain the spot for Beal, but I imagine that contact is not going to do anything good for what appears to be a struggling car. That contact was right on the diffuser area. And these cars are very sensitive when it comes to their diffusers. It's their special area. This is probably the last battle for position we really... Although, I mean, RWB Robert is keeping Subtotal very honest. So that might yet... There could be a fight still. Everybody else is fairly distanced out, though. You think Javier is going to get it, Byron?
Oh, he gonna get it. Whoosh.
Got 2.5 minutes to make it happen. There's got to be something wrong with Batmo's car, though. And he's just going to give up the spot. That car is not healthy. He's definitely dragging that thing around just to get the finish. Again, I'd be very, very interested, Batmo, if you could let us know what was up with the car. What was the problem?
Well, I believe his catalytic converter turned into a Toyota converter, and then it just didn't work no good no more.
The irony, of course, is the Lexus he's driving really is a Toyota. So. Alright, so we're getting increasingly close to the end here. Probably the last lap or two of this race. Morpheus 1975 currently on the podium. I think this is the first time we've seen him there. We'll verify that when we're done. It's been a bit of a rough race for Javier Perez Torres in the physical sense, but he is up to 6th place now. Actually, Batmobile's keeping up with him, so maybe the problem was just letting him by. I don't know. This is making me more confused. Although Javier is also not running great laps at 47.8, so could also just be that that Javier's car has also seen some better days.
True story.
Doesn't look damaged from the contact though. Car looks fine. But he is not legging it on Beal that his 1 second a lap pace while catching him would indicate he should be able to. Beal remains about 1.1 behind. Interesting note, RWB Roberts only 1.3 behind Subtotal, so again, maybe we're in that phase where like catching is one thing, passing is another thing, and then pulling away is a third separate thing.
No pullouts.
They're both losing ground to Warburton, so the McLaren might be someone to keep an eye on here at the end. Gap is down to 3.4. Don't think we realistically have a chance of seeing that action play out, but they got another lap. And a little bit of this one. Let's see what the gap is here at the timing line. It is waiting. 2.6. So she made up 7/10 through that sector. Maybe, I mean, if that's a consistent makeup, then she has the pace, but she's going to have to make the overtake right at the end of the race, in theory. Kim Johansson, running in 4th place, did the gentlemanly thing, let Warburton rejoin ahead of him, and he's prospered since. Very solid. I mean, the first 2 laps were questionable, but the last 31 have been very good for Kim Johansson.
Johansson.
Although I would like it if we could go back to the Perez Torres, Batmobile, and Warburton section of the track, because that's really the only interest we got going on right now, because RWB Robert has finally fallen away from Subtotal to the tune of 2.8 seconds. And instead, we're going to look at Marcus Subtotal. And Max Simmons is your winner. He apparently lapped up to 10th place. So that's interesting.
Pretty impressive.
Morpheus 1975. Coming up to Big Al in the Ferrari there. So he's looking to claim his podium spot. Voodoo Child is complete. And Morpheus looking to round off the podium. And there it is. Don't know if that's his first podium. If it is, congratulations. If it's a regular appearance of you on the podium, also congratulations. And I apologize that we underrated you. That's really all I can do.
Mike's just talking shit. He thinks that you're terrible and you smell like day-old pomegranate.
Kim Johansson is officially done in 4th place. There he is. And Madringa looks like he's going to bring home a top 5. Yes, he is. Good work. There he is. Javier Perez Torres will be the next man across the line. He is done, as is Batmobile. Warburton got it down to 0.5 of a second, and the camera didn't indulge us on that. That's a little disappointing.
Camera guy's fired.
Gonna have to keep playing with the settings. Although this was better, actually, I must say. A lot of the times when I was asking for something to be shown, we actually did go to it. So that it's progress. Whoa! Dave Nelson, celebratory smash into the wall.
Me likey. That's the best way to celebrate.
Your results are Max Simmons winning from Voodoo Child, Morpheus 1975, Kim Johansson, Daniel Madringa, Javier Perez Torres, Batmobile, Kate Warburton, Marcus Subtotal, RWB Robert, Big Al, Dave Nelson, and our DNF for the day, Hamza Mohammed. Very disappointing to see him go out. I think there was a potential for a good result there for the Porsche. And now I will go to the race app page and give you guys the championship rundown and confirm or disconfirm some of our assertions here today. I can confirm Voodoo Child is your champion on 591 over 524 for Max Simmons and 520 for Kim Johansson. Subtotal in 4th. Dave Nelson got 5th place in the overall championship, so good work by him. This indeed was Morpheus 1975's first podium of the season, helping him to 9th place overall. He overtakes RWB Robert here at the very end. Interesting note, the 12 cars that finished today were the 12 top ones in the championship. So I guess once again, just proving that, attendance is king. You have to show up to score and you have to finish to score.
You want to do good, so you try and do good and give 110%. You just give it all, you're all out there. Make sure you put your stick on the ice and get her done.
And of course, one driver in this series finished with minus points. I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but it was a certain individual who is a fan of the Quebec Nordiques.
But they don't exist anymore.
And that I think explains everything you need to know about the man. Well, that and his stream rage rant at some woman in his house that we can only hope is not in that house anymore.
Yeah. Oh, right. I heard about that. That guy's a weirdo and a douchebag, and I hope that he lives his life out in a sack of potatoes.
Well, he lives in Quebec, I think so.
No, it's probably that sack of potatoes made out of asbestos then.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Anyways, that is all for today. Coming up, we either will be doing, or maybe the Cole and Higgs combination will be doing the tier 1 race as well. I'll check with Martin, and if Byron's up for that, we can do that one tonight as well. We'll have a look.
Perhaps.
And that is pretty much the end of the day for us today. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the great series. And I look forward to seeing some of you maybe in some ESR events or maybe doing some RWB events as well. I've been invited to help out with the live stewarding for the 12 hours of Spa on the 21st of November. So I'll probably be there for that. And Byron, do you have anything to final add?
Cucumber tastes better pickle.